Howdy. Mountainwater once again. The thought of glaciers being actual lava streams made out of water. Therefore, the glacier carrying mountain is a volcano, which might erupt to a big extent just by emitting water. There's also this White River thing with that coming. For example, Mount St. Helens in the USA, everybody knows it's a volcano. It has also the world's fastest growing glacier within its caldera. And we have wide rivers, several of them. But there is a glacier growing in that volcano. We have wide rivers in Nalchik, Russia, Momor, France, Udine, Parma, Italy, Walgau, Germany. The reason why I have to talk about this again are news from Iceland. Obviously, you can see here there's a massive glacier. Grimsvtn Volcano is yellow. Grimsvötn is Iceland's most frequently active volcano, probably because it is located on the center of the active northeast rift zone of Iceland. Most of the volcano is hidden beneath the giant glacier Vatnajökull, Europe's largest glacier. Latest update. Grimsvötn Volcano, Iceland, small glacial flood. Alert status raised to yellow. A glacial flood, Jökullhlaup, from Grimsvötn Volcano with Vatnajökull glacier has started. Preliminary measurements from the University of Iceland estimate a small flood as a low water level, fifth of the volume of the last flood, occurs in the volcano. The reason for this meltwater is continuing subside of the rest ice sheet on top of the volcano. The surface has sunk by 3 meters over the past few days. The meltwater has made its way under the glacier and is expected to occur very likely on Tuesday in Grimsvtn, where it is supposed to last for several days. Thus, the volcanic alert has raised from green to yellow. The recent Jökullhlaups at the volcano happened in December last year, and compared to the last flow rate, 3,000 cubic meters per second, the current flood rate seems to be low, approximately 500 cubic meters per second. Jökullhlaup is an Icelandic term for glacier outburst. Once enough water has accumulated beneath the rims of the glacier, it can lift it and surge out and or melt and erode itself a channel through its bottom to exit in a massive, violent glacial flood. That's a picture from the paper I hope will be published soon. That's a lake in Switzerland. And I think it's probably better that we start here. That's the lake. Up here, that's the lake. The lake from above, its elevation is 2,460 meters above sea level. And the town Brig is located at 680. This is the lake. Note the circular patterns. And if you go to the other side of the same picture, that's all from Google Earth. The lake and its surroundings have a caldera crater-like shape. Here we have the drainage path from the lake down to the valley. That's the lake a little bit in close up. The circumpolar pattern indicates that the water comes from below. There is somehow an actual center visible. Maybe. So the question is if there is water rising, which I think there is. There are many lakes in the Alps and on other mountains all over the world. They are almost literally on top of a mountain. They are usually full with water, yeah, because it's a lake. Even in summer, when there's like all the snow has already melted away and there's just nothing left, but the lake stays full. Many dams have been built in order to harvest the water which comes from the mountains. Hence mountain water. In other words, there is a constant flow of water from the mountains, and it doesn't really depend on the amount of precipitation. I cannot spell this word, precipitation, maybe. And many of those, I think, are fed from below. So if the temperature stays below zero all year round, or at least mostly, the water is going to freeze. But because it's fed from below, it will push the water forward. And it will go downhill. It gets pushed downhill. I don't think that glaciers get pulled downhill by gravitational forces. It's just the path of least resistance, but they get pushed downhill. Of course, if it gets warm and they start to melt, like in lower latitudes and stuff like this, they can break off. But also those glacial floods. If there's a fluctuation in the water which is pouring out of the mountain, which is feeding the water, let's say just in temperature, the amount stays the same, but it's getting warmer, the water which is coming from beneath. It starts to melt the stuff. We have glacial caves and all these kind of things. And if the amount is changing too, if there's all of a sudden coming much more water, which is much warmer than the water which created the glacier and stuff, we might expect to have floods, flash floods, like probably occur in the Alps and in many other mountain ranges all the time. Just they are just not recognized as such. And I have been making recently a video about the report from California where there has been a quake and all of a sudden the creek filled with water. There have been waves in the creek. And we are in the middle of the Alps. And if we go down here, where's the city which or town, it's maybe the same thing. But anyway, here is the lake Portelsee. Here is the town which got flooded, which I wrote about. Here, a plant, geothermal energy plant. And we have a thermal bath. So, taking this amount of geothermal activity within the Alps into account in order to try as a holistic picture of the whole thing as possible. I don't even talk now about dragons. I'm sure there are many dragons there in the region. You just have to keep an eye out for them. But anyway, just taking these basic things like hydrology, geothermal activity, volcanology, and these kind of things into account. If you know that there is a thermal bath and the planned geothermal energy plant very close to our lake. The whole thought of this being some kind of volcanism is maybe not too far-fetched anymore. As we can see now in Iceland. Most of the volcano is hidden beneath a giant glacier, beneath the giant glacier of Vatnajökull, Europe's largest glacier. Does this mean it's Europe's biggest volcano too? I don't know. I was since a very long time trying to make a video about how Iceland looks beneath the ice. I still didn't manage it. Probably have to. But anyway, mountain water, cryptodomes, cryptoglaciers, water in general, the electromagnetic circuits of Earth, cosmic cycles. They're all leading to each other. But anyway, status raised to yellow at Grimsvtn Volcano. Let's keep an eye on that. Thanks. Bye.